Welcome, class of 2024. This is Ms. McShane, the Academic and Career Plan Coordinator for Jefferson City Schools. And I'm going to share this tutorial with you today that reviews the PSAT, which is a college board or college entrance exam that all 10th graders at Jefferson High School will be taking on October the 13th. College Board is an organization that developed the SAT, which is one of the two primary college admissions tests. So the PSAT is the preliminary SAT, or sometimes we also refer to it as the practice SAT. Students have a chance to take it only once per year, whereas the SAT you can sign up to take numerous times per year, but most students don't generally start taking the SAT until around their junior year. But the PSAT is open to all students in grades 9th, 10th, and 11th. Ninth graders generally take it for good practice. 11th graders will take it for the National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test, which is an opportunity to earn a great amount of scholarships and for students that test in really high score ranges. But also, it opens up students to a lot of other scholarships for a reserved database that you have to take the test in order to be able to access. But for 10th grade students across the state of Georgia, all of them will take it for a variety of purposes. Some of those reasons is that the PSAT and also the SAT scores can predict your college performance. It also helps the schools identify areas of strength and also allows us to see what growth areas that you need to take care of earlier in high school in order to be able to achieve the GPA that you might be wanting to get into college and also to strengthen your scores. We also know that the more times you practice anything, it's going to build your confidence so you know what to expect on the test, which is automatically going to result in higher scores because you're already going to be building some of those test taking strategies as well. So when it's time to decide to apply to a college, most colleges across the nation do still continue to use the SAT or the ACT along with your GPA and the rigor level of classes that you took during high school to determine if your admission to their school is going to be a good fit for the both of you. One of the items I really like about the PSAT is it gives students and staff a lot of information about which classes you actually have aptitudes for. And sometimes you might not even be aware that you have an aptitude for a certain area. And it also gives us information about which AP classes you might be predicted to have some success in. This question for well, I don't even know right now if I'm going to go to college, so I'm not sure how seriously I should even take the PSAT since it really doesn't count for anything. I want to address that real quickly with you. So, the PSAT really does help you prepare for multiple options during high school and also high school in terms of what kind of training you might want to need to pursue the career that you're interested in. Again, we mentioned earlier that practicing and being aware of all those test taking strategies is going to reduce that natural test anxiety that you might have, which will help you achieve a higher score and really give us an idea of what your true potential might be. Higher scores also mean more options for the types of training that you can pursue during high school and after high school for the career that you really love. And again, we mentioned earlier that there's a lot of scholarship opportunities for students that really prepare for the PSAT and score within certain ranges. I know right now you might not even be sure if college is in your future after high school, but one of the things that we are very passionate about at Jefferson is making sure that we are preparing you for a multitude of options, especially if you're undecided about what those options might be right now. Another item that the PSAT really can help with your school preparation is it gives the school accurate data, especially if you're paying attention and really performing your best on the test. That accurate data really reflects how we can help support you to build the skills that you need. So let's look at the test breakdown. The test includes directions, breaks, getting started, but the actual test time from beginning to end will last about 3.5 hours. There's 165 minutes to complete 139 questions. I know that sounds super overwhelming. I want to assure you that you'll have plenty of breaks in between there. And you can see from this chart over here that each area, there's a math section that you can use a calculator, one in which you cannot. And then there is some reading and a writing and language area. You can see how they're broken down into time frames, which you'll have a brief break after each. The scoring range on PSAT is going to be very different from the usual 100% that you are used to on tests and quizzes at high school. The way that the PSAT is scored, it allows a student to get a possible high score of a 1520. That's really comparable to the actual SAT test, which the higher score is 1600. When you finish this tutorial, if there's time left, I'd like for you to take a few minutes and go to this website, collegeboard.org. Again, this is a private organization that developed the SAT and manages the SAT. And this is kind of the home screen that you can expect to see. And I'm going to recommend that you go ahead and set up your free student account. And you can just sign in up here and just follow the questions. Once you set this up, you're going to be able to access the score report as soon as they are released around December. You're going to be able to understand what those scores mean and what you can do to prepare for your goals during high school. Students can also learn a couple of features on College Board that I really, really love and appreciate. This big future right here is another college and career search for you. It's going to give you lots of ideas in addition to partnering with your results that you already have with U Science. If you also notice down here, there's a link called Opportunity Scholarships. As you decide whether or not to apply to college, there are certain steps that every student has to take, such as taking the SAT or the ACT, applying to college, completing your financial aid application. Well, Opportunity Scholarships is actually going to reward you for potential scholarships for doing the steps to prepare for college that you're going to normally do anyway. You're eligible to start the Opportunity Scholarship program as soon as you begin your junior year. So it's important during your sophomore year to go ahead and get familiar with it, kind of know the timeline of when you need to do what. And again, it's just free money that's just waiting for you. There's also a great search engine here for majors and careers. And you'll notice over here on the left-hand side, there's PSAT, NMSQT. There's a world of resources on here that's going to give you some free test prep materials and go into greater detail on how PSAT is so important to help you plan in high school. You're also going to receive today a student test guide to help you get ready for the PSAT. And it's great that we have fall break next week. And I know you probably don't want to be thinking about school or testing. However, if you have a few minutes, I really do recommend that you and your parent or family kind of go through this guide a little bit and give you a better understanding of how PSAT can really help you. If you flip over from the student guide over to this side, this is going to give you some great information to get ready for next year should you decide to take the the NMS program for the scholarship base as a junior. So please read through the student guide, take the practice test so you get really familiar with the test layout. You can also just Google any additional free resources, but please don't feel obligated to ever pay for these resources because there's plenty of good free ones out there for you. Again, prepare for it as much as you possibly can. So important. You probably remember this from early years. It is really super important to get a good night's rest the night before the test. Please make sure that you eat breakfast. If you eat breakfast here at school, get here in plenty of time because when the bell rings, you're going to go directly to a different testing area, which I'll talk about in a quick minute. And I know this is a no brainer, but man, many people just, the idea of taking a test really just ramps up our anxiety. This is why it's important to really be familiar with the test format because that's automatically going to relieve about 90% of your stress if you know what to expect. Just do your best. We know there's questions on here that you couldn't possibly know until you've taken some of those junior classes. We get that. But the test is scored to reflect that. So just do your best. Don't stress out about the test. But I do want you to kind of take it seriously and do your best. Items to bring on test day. You can only use number 2 lead pencils, so please no pens. You are allowed to bring your own calculator, and graphic and scientific calculators are acceptable on the test. You will not probably be allowed to use any of your electronic devices in terms of your phones or any other thing like that. So I would always recommend that you bring a sweater or jacket to a test situation because you're going to be in a different room than you normally are first block. Have no idea what the temperature is going to be like, so you want to be comfortable. Please be welcome to bring a healthy snack with you. You will not be provided snacks, so just bring something in between breaks that you can kind of munch on to relieve stress and kind of keep your concentration going through that test. Please bring a water bottle. You got to stay hydrated, and that positive attitude will do more to improve your scores than anything else. So, when you arrive to school on Wednesday, October 13th, when the first bell rings, instead of reporting to your normal first block class, you are going to report to different locations based on the first letter of your last name. So you can kind of look at this little chart here, how they have broken it down. So, for example, if your last name is Smith, you're going to jump down here and go, well, let's see, I'm going to report to the cafeteria. If your last name is Carson, you're going to kind of go up here and see where you're going to go to Miss Busey's classroom, room 111. So you will also receive a copy of this in your student email. So please don't worry about any confusion, but this is a good chart that's going to get you in the right direction. That's it for all I have to share with you about the PSAT. I have included my email on this last slide, so please feel free to reach out to me if you and your family have specific questions about the PSAT. I will be more than happy to help answer them, relieve your stress, and really encourage you to take the PSAT seriously so you have as many opportunities for growth over the next couple of years so you can really hit the goals that you have by the time that you're a senior. Have a great day, everybody.